Hi, welcome back to the DM James Monday Night Show. And I know it's not super special since I seem to have a show every night, honestly. Was never the plan, but it's just how it worked out. So, you know, those of you who watch this, welcome back. Now, I don't suspect we'll go as long as the last live stream, which ended up going like 3 hours, 4 hours, something. But the thing is, if basically how long a live stream is going to be with me is determined by how active people watching and in chat are. Like if you guys get super active and start asking a bunch of questions and carrying on, then I tend to stay on longer because something in my Southern upbringing makes it where I hate to. I feel like it's rude if people are talking to you to just be like, well, catch you later. Bye, bitch. So yeah, maybe not the smartest idea for me because now I've let you all know of a way I can be manipulated. And of course, because hey, Nerdy Ogre, how you doing, my homie? Because it wouldn't be me otherwise. Even though I've got 3 armies I need to finish painting for Trench Command, I thought it'd be neat to print out these 1/800 scale World War II ships, just because. Hey, little known fact about your boy, I like boats. As a matter of fact, after I printed out the Americans, I've also got a Japanese fleet too. I really started considering, like, is it time for me to go ahead and turn my World of Warships back? Start getting that shit back going. Uh, I will tell you this, and hey, Big Vic, what's up? King of the Rack Bro Baits, carry on my wayward son. I cannot hear that song, and I love that song by Kansas, obviously. What's up, Jim Cody? How you doing, homie? Without thinking about Supernatural. That's how programmed I've been. We got OJ Flynn. How you doing, OJ? But every time I hear "Carry on my wayward son," I keep waiting for like a break to happen and it to be like last week on Supernatural. You know, even though, let's be honest, I'm sure some of you may disagree, and you're perfectly well within your rights to disagree. But the best season of Supernatural was 1 through 5. A sweet, tough wife yet. Me and her are getting ready to have to go out of town, but we're only going to be gone for a very short period of time. So, yeah. And it will be nowhere near Minnesota, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it will be still in the deep south, rolling in the deep. Supernatural ruined that song. I don't think it ruined that song. I still love that song. But it depends. If you don't like Supernatural, then yeah, I guess. But the thing is, the first 5 seasons of Supernatural were amazing. Hungar, what's up, man? How you doing? It got stupid after the first 5 seasons, which is when it was supposed to end. The 5th season was supposed to be the end of it, but like what happened with Magnum PI, people threw a fit, and also the people who sit in corner offices realized they could still make a shit ton of money, so they kept making it. And I mean, there was that whole thing with the Leviathans that was just lame. Yeah, well, speaking of axes to grind, though, the Vampire GM who ran the game last night, and it was really cool, the storyteller, as they call it in White Wolf, he's got a lot of personal life stuff going up. Yeah, hide your wives, have your kids. I love that meme. That one guy. Hide your wives, hide your kids, and hide your husbands too. Yeah. That guy was like a celebrity for the LGBT crowd. And then he turned around and become a knee-jerk response. Oh, in response to inflammatory title, witty delving, witty. He turned around, and I don't know if he stopped being gay, because I'm not 100% sure about the born that way or choose that way or trauma or whatever. I don't want to get into that. But the dude decided he wanted to have kids and a family. So he actually married a chick and decided he just wasn't going to be gay anymore. And that's so funny, because a guy I used to hang out with when I was into Vampire did the same thing. Like, he was a creepy kind of guy too. He worked at the local haunted house and everything. And he was super flaming. And also, he played Dr. Frankenfurter, like in when they did the play, the of Rocky Horror Picture Show. They'd always get him for Dr. Frankenfurter, and then one day he was like, you know what? I'm tired of being gay. And he married some woman and had a bunch of kids. I'm a man of subtle humor. You are a man of taste and sophistication, sir. Didn't like Supernatural. Which Magnum PI? I'm talking the 80s one. The new one I could give a shit about. I mean, if it's not got, you know, my Navy SEAL Magnum PI played by Mr. Mustachio himself, I don't give a shit about it. You know what I mean? Hey, Les.
Hello.
How are things up there, homie?
Pretty good. We just got ourselves a new microwave. Well, more like a weird oven microwave mix.
Yeah. I don't know what that could be, but
It's like a regular oven, but it's also a microwave.
yeah, I got something on my desk that I think would make you happy.
What's that?
Where is it? Where'd I put it? Where'd I put it?
A K98?
A K98. I had one. I think my dad has it now, or Hungar has it now. No, this.
Oh, yeah. What is it? It's the Shokaku, I think. Right?
Yep.
It's the one
I
that's
think it's
based off
either the Shokaku or the Fubaki.
If it's a Shokaku, it is the one that's based off the Yamato hull.
Yeah, it was a battleship that was converted. Well, I guess they did that a lot.
Yeah, they do convert a lot of battleship hulls to.
Yeah, I 3D printed a Japanese fleet. I don't have a game to play with these things. Well, there was a World of Warships game where you bought like random boxes that come with boats. Maybe I'll by Avalon Hill. Maybe I'll hunt that thing down, because I remember it played on a giant grid, and each grid was like 10 kilometers. So, you know, a turn was like an hour. So, you know, when you'd move from one grid to another grid, it would, you know,
simulate an hour's time.
Well, because, you know, these Navy battles, man, they go on for like 15, 20 hours.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
I mean, those dudes will be duking it out. What's up, Ironcaster? How you doing, man? Happy Monday to you. Yep, the beginning of the work week, the second day. The only time that I actually scheduled, but I'm still terrible because I haven't actually settled on a time. And today's been pretty wild. You know, the wife and I are discussing our plans and stuff. We have a wedding to attend, which I'll be honest, I don't really like. groups of people, unless we're playing D&D.
Jutland.
But Jutland,
Have
yeah.
fun here.
But if I didn't go, my niece would cry. And I like my niece. I don't want to make her cry. But I need to go on X and talk to what's his name? The guy that did The Secrets of Blackmore. Because a couple years back, he had floated the idea of a miniatures World War II-ish war game to me, Navy. And I think he was going to put out miniatures for it and everything. Hell, for all I know, these are the miniatures he put out.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you can buy the STLs for like a complete Japanese fleet for like $8.
Not bad. That'd be kind of cool. Japan
Well,
had a
what
decent
I
fleet
have
back then.
here, let's see, for Japan, I have a shit ton of destroyers, including I have your favorite cruiser.
My favorite cruiser? Man,
The Japanese cruiser, your favorite Japanese cruiser?
I'm trying to think about it because it was like a strange one, I think, with
The
like a bunch.
Kudamaki?
Oh, yeah, that one. Yep.
That was everyone's most hated in when old school World of Warcraft.
World of Warships, you mean?
World of Warships, yeah, because that you'd always get some idiot. He'd be playing the frickin' Kudamaki or whatever it's called, and he'd roll out and just drop like
30 missiles.
torpedoes just
Torpedoes.
downrange.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you'd see so and so has killed so and so, and they'd be on the same team.
Oh, God.
Because,
You got to be careful. You can't do that now.
Yeah, because like they're throwing torpedoes out in such numbers, they end up killing their own destroyers.
You don't have to worry about that anymore. That ship sucks so bad that nobody plays it.
Did you know there were two variants of that class?
Didn't know that.
Yeah, one of them, I have both. One of them is just like, all torpedoes all day. So it's got like 16 torpedo launchers on each side. The other one only has 8 torpedo launchers on a side, but it was also a transport.
Well, you want to know what my favorite Japanese destroyer is?
What's that?
It's the American one that they captured.
Oh. Well, I have a ton of Japanese destroyers, for the American fleet, I've got a ton of them. I've got like the Macon and the Benson and the Fletcher. I even got a couple of American submarines here. These are, I think, swordfish. You see how low profile they are. And, of course, the plastic card that I'm mounting them on will be painted blue. And
Yeah, it was the USS Stewart, Clemson-class destroyer.
And then for the American fleet, I have a South Dakota. I don't know a Pensacola, and then 2 Cleveland-class cruisers. And, of course, even though she went down, the Lexington.
Ah, the Lexington. Yeah, that's a cool one.
Yeah.
Most people would probably think of Midway, though.
It was $8, and you got like 7 STLs of different ships. And each ship STL had like 3 grades of detail. Yeah. So since I have a Saturn III 12K, I can print them bitches out at max detail. But sadly, guys, and we should have just known it would happen, when you look at the size of the barrels on some of these guns, even though I'm printing in extra tough semi-flexible resin, sometimes that shit just breaks off because those gun barrels are like that. Of course, this is the South Dakota sprue. And the South Dakota, of course, is, an American big-ass battleship. Big-ass battleship.
I don't know. Was that an Iowa class or was it a different one?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. You weren't following me? I thought you were, because there's another guy whose name starts with iron that follows me. But, hey, cool. Yeah, but that's World War I. Naval games are... Yeah, World War I was that's where you had the dreadnoughts and the big
Yep.
slow ships with weird like guns sticking out of the sides, and some of them didn't even really have turrets, and
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. But yeah, they'll be easy enough to replace. I could
Yeah.
use like just a bit of fishing line or something of the right size and just
Yeah. The Iowa class
glue it
was
and
the
trim it.
largest
Yeah.
American battleship made.
Well, for the Japanese, they gave me the East ISO. Is that how
The
you say it?
I don't know. ESO. I think it might be ESO. Let me see.
Okay, that's the Nagato class cruiser. Uh, where's the big guns? Here's the big guns.
Okay, maybe it
And it
was the
is the,
I say class. I don't know how you pronounce
yeah,
that.
ISE.
I say.
And of course, it's a little flexed up because of being in the UV box, but that's without any guns on it. This one will be a lot easier than the American one because you don't have to put all the secondary batteries on. They're just already on. However, there is a spot here where I'm going to have to put um, a launcher for a aircraft.
Now the American battleship, they couldn't make them too big because they have to be able to go through the Panama Canal.
Right. Now, if you want the one you love so much, your Warhammer Fantasy stuff is looking really good, buddy. Um, are you running Warhammer Fantasy RPG, Cody? Not that I can tell you any way or whatever, but I did run the entire Enemy Within campaign recently. It took us like a year and a half, but so I guess what, 2 years ago, Hungar? We ended maybe 2 years ago. The Enema Canal. um, so yeah, we ran that whole campaign setting. How long has it been? It's been a long time. Had a lot of character deaths, boy, let me tell you.
Talking about RPGs, we had our game yesterday and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, ours was too, except the storyteller said he's got to step away from being storyteller
Mm.
for personal reasons. So I found my blue folder. I always talk about sometimes on my channel the blue folder of doom, which is where all of our old OSC Advanced, etc. characters are. So we're just going to pick these characters up. They're level 7, and we're going to play in. They're in the Sheldamar Valley in Greyhawk.
Well, I actually got to use one of my new skills recently.
Well, that is very exciting.
Yeah, I
What
picked up
skill?
tailoring.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I used it to make fake fake not fake pockets, but like hidden pockets on my clothing.
Well, that works out for you, right?
Yep. So I could hide things, and that'd be useful.
Yeah. Of course, Hungar is playing a dwarf with a magic axe who wears a cloak made out of a bear that he killed.
That is cool.
And he's got some dwarven plate mail. But like I said, these characters have been around the block. They've been, these characters are at least 2 years old. So they're, level 7. Multiple blasts. Yeah, Shadow's awesome.
See, it was
So let's see. Would like to run Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay again at some point. Yeah, 4th edition, if you can ignore the wretched kind of bleh, the game itself is good. Oh, Bears running heroic tonight. Well, have fun with that. That's probably a blast. I'll end up if it gets posted, I'll end up watching it at a later date.
Yeah, I rolled like 19 successes on that.
19.
Yeah.
successes. Damn.
It was like a prolonged action, so I got a, like 7 tries at it,
Right.
I guess you could say.
Right.
And it's like,
Because it's like as you're doing each part of it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Have the
did roll a
class
few
coding.
10s.
See, I need to look this one up. Uh, it does have a little thing here where I'm supposed to put like some kind of crane, which is on the thing here. But it doesn't have any guns, but that can't be a destroyer. That's way too big to be a destroyer.
Yeah, that's a little too big to be a destroyer.
But it's some kind of Imperial Japanese Navy something.
Uh, some
Let's
kind of
see.
cruiser, I'd
It's
probably
got
say.
one,
Light
two.
cruiser, probably.
It's got 5 single-barreled light guns and some secondaries. Actually, 7 single-barreled light guns, a couple of secondary AA guns, and 2 torpedo tubes per side.
Yeah, that might be a cruiser.
Yeah,
A
that's a
light
cruiser.
cruiser, but still a cruiser.
Yeah, because that's way too big. I mean, destroyers are typically about 2 inches long. That thing's like 5 inches long. But if I play using those rules I was talking about, where you just put the CMAT down, it's all gridded into like 2-inch grids or 6-inch grids or whatever, and each grid represents like however many square miles. Because when you think about it, like a ship like the South Dakota over here, right? Those 16-inch guns would be able to fire 16, 20 miles downrange. You know what I mean? I mean, a pretty good distance, depending. So it's like movement is going to be like not that big of a deal. The issue
Yeah.
would be if somebody runs up and gets close to you and starts chucking torpedoes at you.
Oh, yeah. The Japanese were really good at that because of their long lance torpedoes.
Yeah. Play a 10th level druid in the shadows. Yeah, my list of characters I'm willing to go over. And of course, some of the ladies are incredibly stoked. But we have Nalbar, the dwarf fighter. He's level 5. Uh, and under equipment, it just says dog. Okay. Trixie the gnome. She's level 6/5. And yeah. And there's her thief skills, which are all on dice 6s. So let's see here. Hide in shadows, 5 and 6. Move silently, 5 and 6. Open locks, 2 and 6. Pickpockets, 2 and 6. So that's how she's been spending her points. Chaotic neutral.
I think I'm saving my points now. Either that or I'll just get another skill specialty or something. I kind of want to be just like I guess you could say, crafting specialist.
Right. We got Caitlin Kingstadt, the level 7 cleric.
Nice name. I like the name Caitlin.
Mm-hmm. And that's all there is really to say about her. She's a level 7 cleric. Lawful. And, we use ascending armor class just because a lot of the people at my table
Is used to it.
started playing after 3rd edition.
Fair.
So it's just a lot easier to just be like, okay. Ability check. Roll under or equal on a die 20. See, the old school essentials character sheet, it even tells you how to do ability checks. I love ability checks. They're my favorite.
Talking
But I
about
also use
clerics.
proficiencies from
Talking about clerics. My cleric now is in the shadow. Not the shadow. The Fey realm.
Then we've got Scotty McIntosh, the Ranger Thief, which is kind of a weird combination, isn't it? Ranger Thief.
Yeah, I guess it could work. I could see that working pretty well. You're kind of like a wilderness thief.
Yeah.
You're You're Robin Hood.
He's got leather armor, a short bow, a sword, spear, and dagger. No, oh, the only magic item he has is a necklace of adaptation that makes it where he doesn't have to breathe,
Hmm,
which I guess is good because it makes him immune to like gas
yeah,
attacks.
fair.
Then we've got Finn, no last name, the gnome fighter illusionist, level 5/5.
If you're talking about poisons, that's better than what I had for poison. I'd say resistance.
Well, that's not resistance. That's just immunity to gas attacks.
I
Needed
know.
a talent cleanse from Baltec Gothic. That doesn't even sound good.
He has like an immunity. I got high off of poison.
Oh, yeah, but you're. And then, of course, my bro, the one I always complain about for being a Bernie bro, but he's still my bro. He
Oh,
is
he's a
playing
Bernie
a thief
bro.
acrobat named Kenji,
I
who
don't
is
get that.
from Parenland or the Tiger Nomads
How
or something.
can you now be a Bernie bro, especially after he sold out?
No, I mean he used to be. Basically, when I say
Yeah.
he's a Bernie bro, I'm just saying he's a liberal,
Ah,
but he's still my bro. So I've known him for like 30 years.
like here's the thing. I
Hungar, him, and I were all roommates when we lived in the ghetto.
yeah.
So, and we
I
did
just
live in the public housing ghetto. We're the only. Well, I mean, the guy I'm talking about is actually Puerto Rican, so I guess he can pass as a brown man or something, a POC or a BIPOC or whatever the hell they're always going on about. But me and Hungar, we're as white pink as you can get. But we lived in that Section 8 housing. Everyone we lived near was brothers. Half of them were gang members, and not one of them uh, ever messed with us because we don't do drugs. So
Hungar, that's why the old school point and click adventure of Robin Hood was the best Robin Hood.
the new Robin Hood on Netflix is crazy. He just steals. So BattleTech Gothic looks terrible. Is it like super far in the future and everything sucks? I mean, what the F are they doing? Running Dragon Slayer
They're just mixing
tonight. Nice.
Warhammer with BattleTech. That's all they're doing. They're like, Warhammer's popular. We could rip that off.
Well, I mean, Games Workshop already ripped Baltec off. I
See?
mean, the Warhound Titan is just a freaking Marauder, but made more gothic-y looking. Alternate timeline with kaiju. That is, well, maybe some people will like it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, you have fun with your Dragon Slayer game. We're going to be doing OSC Advanced with the survival guides because I always use the survival guides because I
We
love them. So in your game, you sewed a bunch of pockets onto some shit.
Yeah, I sewed just a few pockets onto my clothes because hey, hide stuff is gonna be very useful in the near future, actually.
Why? Do you plan on stealing a bunch of shit?
No, not stealing, but I do have to sneak out of town with a certain document that I don't want to be stolen.
Okay. Okay.
We're having this whole thing where our characters are kind of getting accused of killing a guy, and so we're having to sneak out of town, go to like this magistrate, and
So you're doing the run, as the rappers say.
yeah, a brothel owner who was also the brother of the guy who died basically is helping us sneak out and with the documents we need.
You better watch out. They'll hit you with some RICO charges.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, BTEC Gothic is supposed to be first in a series of alternate universe settings. Man, that just shows that Catalyst is so freaking cooked. They have no idea what to do. So they're going to start doing that. That is lame.
Yep.
But hey, you know, until I one day hit the Powerball and win billions of dollars and buy Catalyst, or at least the rights to Valtech. I guess all I can do is just chill out and be like, whatever.
One thing I gotta say, this whole thing about it being accused about a crime has decided to push forward my plans that I wanted to do in the game. In any way,
So being accused of a crime has pushed forward your plans to do crime.
no, not crime. I'm basically going to just say, screw the main plot that DM was probably cooking up, and go and do my own thing.
Yeah, DMs love when you say screw whatever the DM was cooking up and do your own thing. They love that.
True. It's always the funnest part. I mean, I've done that session one on one of my games, and it just turned out to be pure craze.
I'm being facetious. I still have. Hungar, I cannot believe you would rather watch TV than hang out with me and Leth. You fag.
Here's the thing: Jin loves it when I go off the rails. It's made one of his probably most interesting games.
I'm salty because I made, like I said, a whole dungeon for my players, and they.
Oh, I can understand that though. You worked all this time on
my
that.
ass off,
Oh, you
set up
did.
everything. They were like, "Yeah, let's do this thing," and then at the very last minute, they're like, "No, we're not doing the thing." They're like, "You assholes! I spent hours mapping this place out and stocking it with monsters and shit, and you turn around and do me this way." I was like, "I'll tell you what, you'll pay for that." They didn't, because I'm not that kind of DM, but they should have. They should have.
And let's
I should
face
have
it.
been
I mean,
spiteful and had them get attacked by, like, I don't know, packs of hungry vampires or something.
his little plot line's still going to be burning in the background. I guess it'll be interesting.
It's our favorite thing as DMs when the players just say, "Screw you, I'm going to do my own thing."
Hey, look, I know the last two times we played, we said we wanted to do this thing, but at the last minute, with no warning, we've decided that we're not going to. And you're just like, well, okay then.
You like my new background picture?
Diddy surrounded by a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the latest story, and, you know, carrying rumors here, which is not great, is that poor Diddy's like got HIV, man. You got the package.
Another thing they said is Diddy could be facing the DP, and I'm not talking about double penetration.
The DP.
Yeah, they're gonna decaffeinate that fool. They're gonna make him sparkle.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, they're talking about it.
He's not in Florida, is he?
No,
Because I know in Florida they got that whole, if you do some shit with underage people, that's a death sentence thing.
oh, in Florida they're like, "Hey, guess what? We're gonna get you."
Yeah. Like they recently passed a law in Florida, the governor did, that if any city official, sheriff, etc., doesn't cooperate with ICE, he will immediately fire them.
Well, you know who we don't have to worry about with that? Oh, Grady Judd.
Oh, Grady Judd, yeah, because that dude, he loves effing with people. That's like his thing. He's like, I'm going to arrest you, and then I'm going to do a YouTube channel, and I'm going to show your picture off and talk bad about your mom.
Man, I wish we had that here.
Yeah, Grady Judd is out of control, dude. That guy is. I mean, but the thing is everyone where he lives loves him, and he never breaks rules. He's like, he is truly, if you wouldn't say lawful good, he's like, at least you're hardcore lawful neutral. That dude does what he does, and he does not give any shits about anything, as long as it's like, I am the law. And at least in Polk County, he is the law. So, I mean, you know.
That was probably not the best movie, but that was funny. Just that line.
That was the worst. That was the worst version of Judge Dredd.
I know, but
Not
that
the best-
line is just
maybe
so
that wasn't
funny.
the best version of Dread.
It's just that line was just so funny where he's just like, I am the law. And then the other guy goes, law.
Did you see the Norm Macdonald skit when he was making fun of Stallone about
No, I wish
Judge
I had
Dredd?
though.
No.
Judge Dredd, and then he's like, and then what was that movie, Over the Top, where you had to learn how to, you know, you had to fight to get your kid custody of your kid, and how did you do it? Oh yeah, I remember, arm wrestling. You were an arm wrestler for your child. It ended up Stallone. It was after Stallone had hit Norm Macdonald's car, and Norm Macdonald was hurt. Then Stallone just started beating his ass about it. He's like, "I can't take this anymore," because you know how Norm could be such a smartass, right?
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, that was on his show when they're like, what would you do if you could go back in time and meet Hitler? Would you kill him? And Norm's like, I'd actually be afraid I'd go back in time and listen to his speech and be like, he's making some good points. Right? Like, some of the stuff he's saying is kind of making sense now that I hear it,
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything.
Oh, Norm, DMing a Star Wars game where my players explore an underground tunnel network includes sparsely populated city. Recommendations for things I can spice up the experience. Well, I mean, depending on the world they're in, there could be anything in those tunnels. And because Star Wars truly is just sci-fantasy, I mean, what if there's like an area of the tunnels that's been like colonized by Gamorreans, which are just basically Lucas
Orcs.
ripping off the idea of orcs, right? So you could have a whole area that's full of Gamorreans. You could have a secret smuggler base that's like somehow affiliated with one of the huts. I mean, really anything you can imagine in any sci-fi fantasy movie, show, comic book, or game, you could throw into Star Wars and call it a day. I mean, that's just how Star Wars is. It's actually, I guess, one of the strengths of Star Wars is, pretty much in the role-playing game, at least, it's anything goes, really.
And I'm working on downloading Arc so I can be pissed off most of the time. And I pre-ordered Dune Awakening.
Yeah, I saw you in the Dune Awakening character builder.
Yeah. Just the beginning movie is badass.
Well, the whole what if Paul never existed?
Oh, it's Paul talking.
I know.
See the future. Yeah, it was just cool. What if my mother listened to the Bene Gesserit and had only girls?
Right, It's like, okay, again, alternate history shit, but whatever.
It's Paul Atreides. He can do whatever he wants.
I mean, to me, if I'd been in charge, I would have just put it like super like in a different time.
Yeah, well,
Because there's been humans on Dune for literally thousands, tens of thousands of years.
what they're saying is the Fremen have disappeared, and you have to go find them.
Where are they hiding in one of their sieges?
Apparently, the rumors they've all been killed, and the Bene Gesserit chick is making you try to find them.
Huh. Interesting word, that siege. You know why?
Why?
Because it's a Russian word.
Yeah.
It's what the Russians and the Ukrainian Cossacks called their fortified villages.
Yeah, but he took a little bit of everything.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's the super far future. I mean, go nuts, mix it up.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to, be away. You can do whatever the hell you want.
And he did.
And he did even though honestly his primary love was the ecology and everything. I guess he got the idea of Dune from wandering around in the deserts in California or something. And he was always kind of into environmentalism and stuff like that.
He was probably out there with Jim Morrison doing acid in the desert.
That's possible. But that's why a big part of Dune is about, the ecology of Dune and, all the weird shit, is because that was like his jam,
Yeah.
kind of the thing he was into. But okay, I got mind blocked for a second staring at that battleship. So yeah, not this Sunday. The Dune movies were pretty good. I mean, I like every single one of the Dune movies just because I like Dune. And even though I have read the first book, I don't care. It's like I still will watch a movie based on Dune. Because I'm just not that hardcore about it. You know what I mean? I'm like,
what I liked about the Dune movies is the second one when they were on Gidi Prime,
right.
And Fade Rafa was fighting in the tournament, and everything was just like white and just looked.
Yeah, they even though they didn't do the Harkonnen correctly, it was still really neat
And
how
Fade was cool.
they did them, because the reality is Fade was a skinny guy with reddish hair. His uncle was a big fat guy with curly red hair and a skin condition that he got because he had forced himself on Gaius whatever Mohiam when she was a young girl, and she used her Bene Gesserit powers to give him a kind of a flesh-eating disease that would never go away. And he was also hardcore degenerate and homosexual. And one of his favorite things was drugging young boys and taking advantage of them. And Raban was just a big, stupid idiot with red hair.
Yeah, but Starship Troopers Mad Cat is just a fun movie to watch. We've all read the book.
Troopers, it's like the dude who made that movie didn't even read the book.
We've all read the book, and we're like
trying to describe it to him, and was like, yeah, I'll make a movie.
Yeah, there's some bugs involved.
It's like there's some bugs, and they're fighting humans, and like, go, Now, Starship Troopers, the movie though, is kind of awesome. It's nothing like the book, but it's still kind of awesome. I mean,
I'm doing my part.
Huh?
I'm doing
my part. Exactly, Les. Like the teacher cheering as all the kids are out on the sidewalk, like stomping on roaches and shit. It's like, wow.
Do you want to know more?
Would you like to know more? Yeah. And what's funny is the guy who did it, I think the same guy that did Dune, Villeneuve or whatever his name is, Villeneuve, he did it as a satire of fascism. But man, fascism never looked better, did it?
Especially, Hugo, speaking of fascism, Hugo Boss is talking about doing military uniforms again.
Hey, I don't know if that's a good thing. The last time they did military uniforms, it ended up pretty bad.
But they were the sharpest dressed ones.
Hey, it's funny because our bro, Diversity and Dragons, was talking about how, these people keep calling everybody Nazis and shit. And I posted on his channel, I was like, I think I look fabulous in a black Hugo Boss outfit. Yeah. So he was a full Epstein. Who was? Which one are we talking about, Penex? Heinlein? Because Heinlein had some weird shit in his closet for sure.
Heinlein was a full Epstein, he was just full freaking. Once you start reading his other books, his boy books were really good, and Starship Trooper is technically one of his like young adult boy books. But when you got into stuff like
Stranger in a Strange Land.
Stranger in Strange Land, the for what the hell is the name of that one book? The Lazarus Long series and shit like that,
Yeah,
where
that guy was a straight up weirdo.
straight up like he loved it. You would swear he was from Alabama. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do, and I wish you wouldn't, because it's not. It's a shitty stereotype that inbred Yankees came up with to
Yeah,
make fun of Southerners because they know we're better than they are.
yeah, but that's just a way of saying that he was into the cests.
Yeah, he's a weird fucker, but he wasn't from the South. That's the thing.
No,
He
he
lived
was
in California.
Iowa or some shit.
He's a weird guy, and but Starship Troopers was amazing, and the movie, I was like, damn, I would live under that government. I'd be set because I'm already a combat vet, so I'd be voting and making fun of you guys. But yeah, man, nothing wrong with that. Verhoeven and Villeneuve are different dudes. Thank you, sir, because you know how some people like they watch movies and they pay attention to the directors and the producers, and I don't. I watch movies and I can tell you which movies I like, but most of the time, I cannot tell you who directed the shit. The only director that I actually can spot his work most of the time is Kubrick.
Or Pete Jackson.
Oh yeah, you're saying Baron Harkonnen was an Epsteiner? Oh, he was worse than an Epsteiner even. He was the kind of guy that literally would drug young boys so that he could do horrible things to them. As a matter of fact, Fate tried to kill him one time in a book by planting a poison needle in the inner thigh of a young boy that he knew the Baron had a thing for. But of course, the Baron found it and killed the young boy, strangled him to death, and then called Fate in, and they made a deal to stop trying to kill each other because apparently that was just something that the Harkonnens did as a hobby, you know?
Yeah, but Fate also didn't he have to kill the.
Then Fate had to go to his private chambers and kill all of his women that he kept.
And the guy who helped him put the poison needle, the slave master or whatever.
Yeah, he had to kill basically, but it wasn't just the poison needle guy. He had to kill all of his women.
Yeah.
Because Fade was the womanizer. And because Fade was very handsome, as they described him, he could get pretty much, well, on Harkonnen, he could get any woman because they had no choice. But, I mean, even when Erelon visited Dee Prime, she made a point of saying that Fade was very handsome. And there was a point where the Baron Harkonnen was thinking, hey, if our plot don't work out, maybe you could just marry the Emperor's daughter, you know? That could be a thing.
Didn't he mess around with Eunuch's wife?
He impregnated Count Finring's wife.
Yeah, Finring's wife.
He sure did, because Finring, who should have been the Kwisatz Haderach, except that he was born with a defect.
Yeah, Finring wasn't going to.
Whose whole job was to go around and, collect baby batter in order to make sure the right bloodlines were continued. And one of those bloodlines she had to collect was Fate. And Count Finring, escorted her there and talked over the evil plan with the Baron while Fade was, tapping that nappy dugout of his wife, to use a really old school term from back in the 90s.
Nappy dugout. That's I've not heard that one in a while.
Hitting that nappy dugout. Check this out, Hunger.
Nice.
Is the angel of death.
Hmm.
See how it's got like, it looks feminine, but it's got like skeletal face and the weird. It's from a movie, I think. I'm not sure which movie. I think maybe one of the Hellboy movies.
Maybe? I
Maybe.
can't remember that one.
I have an STL of an actual. What is the order of angel that just looks like spinning rings with like 8 wings and eyeballs everywhere?
I always,
I've got an STL for one of those.
I always
I
hear
should
that's
print
the
that shit up.
biblically accurate. Like most people will make jokes about that being the biblically accurate angel.
Yeah, well, that is the form of that they looked like when God showed what's his name? Enoch heaven. And it drove Enoch crazy. So that's why from then on, angels took human forms. And if you read the scripture, almost every time an angel approaches a human, the first words out of their mouth is "Be not afraid," because it turns out angels are terrifying,
Yeah,
terrifying creatures
I think
that
that'd be
were
pretty.
designed specifically for 2 points. One is to worship God and do whatever God says, and 2 is to kill anyone that God sends them to kill. I mean, you know,
They
think
definitely
about
are
think
terrifying
about
looking.
Saint Michael the Archangel. He has killed so many everythings. I mean, that guy's responsible for like mass extinctions and shit, you know. But that's his job. That's what he does.
That's what Michael did.
That's what Saint Michael does. The Archangel. He you f up and piss the Father off, and Michael comes and gets you. I've got him tattooed on me because he's also the patron saint of soldiers. And some police officers get him because he's the patron saint of police officers too. Whereas firefighters, our patron saint is Saint Florian, who was a firefighter that was martyred because he refused to convert when I think it was Emperor Diocletian decided all the Christians had to die or something. And he was in a Roman legion, but it was a legion devoted to putting fires out. So, you know, fire brigade. And they're like, if you're a Christian, you have to reject Christ. And he's like, nope. So they drowned him to death. Because a lot of them like to drown Christians because it makes a mockery of baptism. Damn, I started talking about St. Michael and 3 demon-possessed people fled the chat. But anyway, yeah. The Baron Harkonnen is truly Baron Harkonnen is truly a twisted and evil man. And the only reason Jessica even exists is because they sent a Bene Gesserit woman to Giedi Prime who basically looked like a young boy, and they drugged the Baron Harkonnen, and she managed to get a bit of his baby batter, and that's how Jessica was born.
Yep.
They had to trick him because he did not. The only reason he did what he did with Gaius Mohiam was out of pure meanness. Like they cut a deal where they would help him with some stuff, but only if he made her pregnant. And he made sure to do it in the most painful, horrible way possible to punish her. Look for Nimitz. Okay.
Hey, what's up, James Bell? I haven't seen you in 152,000 years.
Well, I mean, he lives in the mystical land of Australia.
That place doesn't exist.
That is the James that lives in Australia, right?
Yeah, that place isn't real.
Yeah, it's possible that their continent has been cut off from communication with the rest of the world due to, I don't know, maybe a great old one rose up or something. Tricked by that Benny Gesserit Tussy. Yep. Yeah, this guy's bent because I haven't based him yet, but it's a Japanese light cruiser. I think a Fubuki or something. I am definitely going to get one of my Sharpie extra fine pens and write the name of these ships on the bases. You know what I mean?
So you'll know
So
what they
that,
are, yeah.
you know, it's like I can look at the South Dakota and I know that's an American battleship. You can just tell, right? But these Japanese cruisers and destroyers and shit, because of the sizes and stuff, it gets to where it's like, is that a destroyer or like cruiser or the F even is that? I don't even know what category that even goes in.
Well, guys, I'm going to bounce out.
You
Say,
bounce out.
Y'all be good.
You met your obligations. I
Peace,
hereby release you.
peace, love, and chicken grease. And like they say in Paris, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. It's like habit now. Every time he says it, I have to respond. Now in Hebrew, it's shalom, and you respond with shalom alaikum. So it's peace, and then you say peace to you. You know. But let's be honest, it's been 30 years since I studied Hebrew, so. And my grandparents didn't really speak Hebrew. They spoke Russian and Yiddish. The South Dakota had bad luck in World War II. Well, that's not good because that's the one I got. Like I said, they had this deal where it was $8 and you got enough STLs to build an actual fleet for America. They had like all the major players, actually more players than you would think, because they had the Italian fleet, what was left of the French fleet, the English, the Germans, Japan, and America. So, you know, but I got American and Japanese because I feel like that's where all the big stuff was. I mean,
the big
I
naval
guess
stuff,
the
at least.
scenario where you played the Bismarck trying to escape or the fleet trying to not let it escape would be fun. But no, I mean, the Battle of Midway, the Battle of Tarawa Sea, all those places, that's way better because, you know, at times there would be so many ships involved and aircrafts. Now, I do have to download or find good STLs to represent squadrons of aircraft. Victory at Sea. See, James L., like I said, the next time I'm on X, which will probably be later, I need to get in touch with the guy. I never can remember his name, but he did Secrets of Blackmore. He also wrote a World War II Navy war game. He told me about like years ago. And I just kind of put it in the back of my head and never thought about it too much. You know, I was like, oh, cool, you know. So, yeah, that dude and I talk quite a bit, even though he is also like my one of my closest friends. He's definitely very much not politically aligned with me, but I don't care. He seems like a nice enough guy. And until the actual Civil War happens, I'm not going to be mean to anybody. Now, if an actual Civil War breaks out in America, I've already got my red glasses. And, you know, I'll be asking people what kind of American they are. But until then, I'm going to be good to everybody because, you know, why not? Even Australians, and they don't deserve it, honestly. Bunch of freaking inmates and highwaymen. Plus the fact that the Australians just invent words, I think, out of the blue just to piss people off. Like, what is a billabong?
I do not know.
And what is it like? Waltzing Matilda, a swag man. What the hell is a swag man? Because the song starts with like, once a jolly swag man was resting in a billabong or some shit like that. And it's like, I don't understand half of the words you just said. And you're supposed to speak English. They say it's English, but I don't know what any of that is.
The Queen's English. Do you speak it, mother effer?
Right? The Queen's English. Dost thou speak it, son of a knave? See, I mean, what queen? I'm thinking Elizabeth I. Aboriginal word for a lake. All right. And the swag man is an itinerant. Well, that's a much nicer way of saying it then, because if the song was, once a homeless dude was hanging out near a lake, I mean, that just wouldn't really have the same impact, would it? You'd be like, what? Why are they singing a song about a homeless guy wandering around and hanging out at lakes? Yeah. Okay. That's your Australians. They're like America, but weirder. Or what is it? Somebody's told me, they said Australia is what happens when you take Florida and make a whole continent out of it. And a whole country. It's like, if you want to know what it is like to live anywhere in Australia, just imagine living in a trailer park where everybody's driving beat up Trans Ams that say no fat chicks allowed. And it's like, that's Australia. A giant trailer park, and everybody's driving a Trans Am that has a sticker on the bumper that says no fat chicks allowed. And I'm all like, okay, all right.
Fair enough.
I feel you. Fair enough. If that's how you want to do it, you do you, man. I'm okay with that. Yeah, this has got to be some kind of light cruiser. It's got a shit ton of guns, and it's like twice the size of a destroyer, but I'm not sure what type of light cruiser that is.
I
You
can't
guys
tell
are
you.
homosexual.
I'm not really.
We are British Texas. I've heard a lot of people say that the Australian accent does remind them of the Texas drawl. So I will take your word for it. James L., I haven't talked to you in a very long time. I know you probably avoid my channel sometimes because I can get religious and political. I get it. You're not down with that stuff too much. I understand. I'm not offended. But since it has been a very long time since I've seen you, what you been up to, man? What games are you playing? Where are you painting? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's up? Yeah, mullets everywhere. Oh, and by the way, it's messy because I got a bunch of stuff on it. Oh, see right there, you can see my firefighter hat. Well, helmet. But I made myself a 4x4 Trench Crusade board, and I've got like, I don't know, 12 armies for Trench Crusade. I went overboard with that. So I can't wait until my brother is healthy enough to drive, because he's going to come down for a while, and we're going to play the hell out of some Trench Crusade. He's already got like 2 armies he asked me to make for him, and I've got like tons of other armies. So you're just super private. Yeah, see, the thing is, when you make videos where you're live streaming and talking shit, you can't be too private. I mean, yes, there's a lot of stuff about me you guys don't know about my family and everything like that, because some things do have to be kept private. But overall, you know, I 3D printed this Angel of Death, and I sized it so it would be about the same size as a Praetor from the Trench Crusades. What's it called? The Order of the Seven-Headed Serpent, which is basically the demonic guys, so that it could be an alternate Praetor if someone wanted to use it. Because in Trench Crusade, if you play the actual half demons, you have to pick one of the 7 deadly sins for your warband. And so, like this one I made, I need to glue her lash on, but she didn't come with the wings. I added the wings and I scaled her to the right size, but she was supposed to be a pleasure demon. So maybe for 40K Slanesh or something. But I made her the right size to stand in as a praetor for a war band devoted to lust as a deadly sin, because you got wrath and lust and all the different things. So she would be the praetor of lust. And the rest of the armies are the same, hell locusts and freaking whatever, Quit smoking, read a few books, cooked a lot of steak, helping friends write rules, getting back into making music. Looks like you've been busy, man. I have not seen their sprues for the last 4, but I used a shit ton of their World War I Russian, German, and Italian stuff, like arms and weapons and backpacks and heads. Like I can show you here. This is my standard New Antioch army, and they're pretty much completed, right? But that gas mask head and style helm is a plastic War Games Atlantic German head that I just put on instead of the head that they normally would have because I thought it just looked cooler. So, yeah. Plus, I like the red glowing lenses because it reminds me of Jinro, uh, the Wolf Brigade, which, Leth, if you haven't watched Jinro, what are you doing with your life, man?
I don't know.
I think I've mentioned it to you before.
Yeah, you have.
And it's like free on like 3 different channels.
Fair.
You need to watch it. It's weird because it's a future where somehow Germany nuked Japan and made Japan a client state and whatever. And then there's a battle in like 60s Japan between the Wolf Brigade, the cops, and the communists, which are called the Red Faction or whatever. But the animation is absolutely beautiful. The story is amazing. There's no chibi shit in it anywhere. And the main assault force of the Wolf Brigade, the Panzer whatevers, they're like dudes, but they wear super heavy armor and they've got that glowing red lenses on the gas mask and face armor and the Stellhelms, and they all carry MG42s as their weapon.
I'll be right back.
So they're just walking around with these freaking machine guns, just bah! It's pretty nuts. Yeah, the kit bashing aspect is what brought me into it. Celtic Shield's nice. There is an actual Celtic army in Trench Crusade called the Sons of Ire. It's Ireland, but they insist on spelling it the old way. So you can play the Irish. I do have an army that I need to finish painting, but I'm terrible, and you know that. But these are my Prussian shock troopers. And you see how they're all wearing like, metal armor, but that guy's got a shotgun on his backpack. He's got a great sword and he's got a gas mask, but he's also got that big freaking bearskin hat. And I think their feathers supposed to be red. That's the only reason I haven't really finished them is I haven't. Every time I think about looking up to see what color, plus I need to paint the skull and the wings on the front of their bearskin because they've got that Prussian skull with wings. I need to paint that gold. But like, here's one of them, and he's got like a Tommy gun with a 50 round drum. And then, he's got his backpack. Now they all fall under the auspices of the army of New Antioch, but New Antioch has a multitude of sub factions. So you can play your Prussian Stormstruppen. You can play your standard guys. You can play the Irish Scouts. You can play the Ethiopian Warriors, which I haven't found good parts for them yet. These guys right here I made, these are your Swiss Guard. And that's a Swiss Guardsman with
I'm back.
BAR, a Browning automatic rifle. And you can play the Swiss Guard, and they're considered to be part of what they call the Vatican Rapid Response Force. So anytime the forces of hell are acting up and causing real severe issues, these guys show up. The negative is they're a very small warband. The positive is they're all badasses, every one of them. They're immune to fear. They get all the best equipment, and armor and everything like that. I like that you're enthused. This is like Trench Crusade. Now, the creators, I think, are assholes mostly. And they quit X and they went to Blue Sky, which does not give me a good opinion of them. But 90% of the lore and the idea behind the game is like right up my alley. Well, this isn't Crusader era, though, James. Though it's 1914. The gate to hell was opened in 1099 by the Knights Templar under Jerusalem. Jerusalem is basically hell on earth. And so the forces of hell start spreading out, trying to conquer shit. They got held up in Ethiopia by, or held up in Egypt by the Ethiopians. And they got held up at Antioch by the Christians from Europe. And I don't know how far east they've gone. I do know that Constantinople fell in 14 something to one of the Dukes of Hell. So Imperial Russia under the Tsar, they're constantly, trying to liberate Constantinople. The Greeks are constantly trying to liberate Constantinople. These giant ass church looking dreadnoughts, because that's basically what it is, they're made on Mount Athos in Greece by a holy order of monks. And then there's a monk on the inside of this bastard, driving it around and crushing the forces of hell. So yeah, it's kind of nuts, man. It's kind of nuts. But in addition to those New Antioch forces, I also have Varangians, which are the last bits of the armies from Constantinople that survived the fall of Constantinople. You're right. Well, the game puts those rules in where like actual demons cannot enter into Earth, but half demons can. That's the rule. So any of those demonic figures I showed you, they're half breeds. Because a pure actual minion of hell can't enter Earth, because if they do, then the forces of heaven hit. And the forces in hell know, the seven lords of hell or whatever, and Satan, of course, they know that if they antagonize heaven too much and heaven starts sending like Archangel Michael and Gabriel, etc., down, that the gig is up. You know what I mean? It's like the forces of hell have no delusion about the way shit's going to end, but their whole goal is just to corrupt as much of humanity as possible. And they have corrupted 1/3 of humanity so far. And then, even though the creators of the game argued with me that there would never have been time for Europe to colonize the New World, I told them to fuck off and made a new Antioch army that's all Americans. because I reminded them, even though they're the creators of the lore, that the original colonists in North America were not sent there by government. They were a private enterprise. So it doesn't matter that there's a war in the Middle East. You still would have knuckleheads in England and Holland and shit hiring captains to take them across the ocean. Otherwise, you open up a big hole in the lore. You all right, love?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just allergies.
Okay. You open up a big hole in the lore, which basically would say that all of the new world is already conquered by the forces of hell. And I'm not willing to concede that. Next, they'll say Australia was never colonized by the British. And so all of Australia would be in possession of the forces of hell, too.
That's so fun.
You know, because anywhere in the world that Christianity was never brought is automatically in the possession of hell. Yeah, big gaps are good, but if you do things that cause other problems, it's like they refuse to acknowledge Imperial Russia. And I know they're doing it because they're probably a bunch of Ukrainian supporting scumbags. Sorry if that's passionate and it insults anybody. But a lot of the not having the United States and Russia in the written lore, they're doing it for ideological or political purposes. And I called them out on it, which I don't know if I'm the one that made them go to Blue Sky, but they went to Blue Sky shortly after I wrote a thesis on how wrong they are about some shit. And, you know, but outside of the creators being a bunch of fucking douchebags, the game is great. It's too hot for the forces of hell in Australia. Yeah, but they could always hang out in Brisbane and Sydney. You know, I'm pretty sure they already, like in real life, own Tasmania. So for you, not much would change, except you wouldn't be in Australia because, and this is the thing, they not them, but people who follow the game have made a conscientious choice to try to do as little colonialism as possible, because you know how leftists hate colonialism, despite the fact that everyone's colonized everyone at some point, and generally speaking, a lot of times colonialism was a good thing. But I'm not sure when they draw the timeline, so when it's bad to be a colonist or not. You know how people are like, America is a colonist country and they're horrible, especially like people who support people like Hassan Piker. They're always talking shit about America, right? America, blah, 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 a bunch of colonists. It's like, you motherfuckers are Turks. Your people come from North Asia, but you're sitting in the middle of Europe. So give Constantinople back. If you hate colonists so much, pack your fucking bags and go back to China. Because otherwise, shut the fuck up. Demons run Melbourne for sure. Whatever your stance on Russia, they got their asses whipped at Tannenberg for sure. And they're really one of the reasons the Germans even entered the war. We were talking about World War One at one of my other things, and it's like everyone wants to blame the Germans as the bad guys, but they got drug into the war like everyone else did. I mean, they're not a first-tier combatant. That shit started with the Serbs and the Austro-Hungarians. And then the French jumped in, and the Russians jumped in because of the French. And then the Germans jumped in, and because the Germans invaded the Netherlands, England jumped in. And it gets stupider from there. I'm not sure why Italy jumped in, but they switched sides halfway through, as they are, as
They always do.
As you do if you're Italian. Wait and see who's going to win, and then switch sides. Colonialism is a mixed bag. I don't think that it's even a mixed bag. I think that it is just a thing that happens, and people who are upset about colonialism are probably upper middle class, white, overeducated idiots that don't have enough to worry about. Because if they were actual working people that had to worry about paying bills and shit, they wouldn't give a shit about colonialism, believe me. Plus, like I said, when the Spanish colonists arrived in Mexico, the Aztecs were literally enslaving, butchering, and eating almost every other tribe around them. So, who is going to argue to me that having a bunch of Roman Catholic Spaniards wipe out an empire that was 100% devoted to cannibalism and human sacrifice was a bad thing? Because I'm never going to believe it. I'm going to tell you, you're freaking crazy. They needed to be wiped out. That was, I mean, were the Aztecs geniuses? Yes. Were they amazing warriors? They absolutely were. They were really good fighters. Were they evil as shit? By any objective standard, they were evil. I mean, if you kill a child and roast it and eat it, you're evil. There's no like no ands, ors, or buts, or coconuts, as the saying goes. Yeah, the German invasion was cynical. I mean, come on. World War I is the worst war of all time. Everyone is always obsessed with World War II, but it's like World War I was a truly horrific event on a scale that I don't think most human beings can even imagine. You know, it's like
Not wrong there.
it's like what was it, like 250,000 soldiers died like in the first week of the Somme or some shit. I mean, can you even imagine that? That is shit that didn't happen in World War II. And then, of course, everyone's feet rotting off of them because of trench foot and artillery all day to no end. And hey, just for fun, let's throw like poison gas and chlorine and all kinds of crazy shit on top of that. And we just invented this new thing, the water-cooled machine gun. So by all means, jump out of your trench and slowly trudge ahead in line, which they did. And, you know, I mean, it's like the worst, man. The worst. Yeah, well, here's the thing, James L. Every country right now in their area where they have all of their file cabinets, I guarantee you, in the military part of their government, they have file cabinets with invasion plans of every other country on the planet right now. Like, does America have plans to invade Canada? No, we're never going to invade Canada. But do they exist on paper somewhere? You know they do. Because some officer or think tank or some shit has already drawn them up. And then someone read it and said, yeah, that's a pretty good plan. And they put it in a file. We've probably got plans to invade everywhere, even maybe Australia, for all I know. Am I being cynical, James O? I mean, you're a fellow James, so you know you can tell me. I'll be James the elder. You can be James the younger, because I think I'm older than you. But maybe that's cynical to say, bros. But yeah, I think every industrialized nation has probably got plans to invade every other country somewhere in some government form. You can count on it, and probably always have. I bet it goes back even to the Romans. You know, it goes back to the Romans because the Romans had plans to invade North Africa and Carthage before they did. Before there was even a Punic War, they were already plotting. And of course, so were the Carthaginians. I mean, there was already plots. It's just the nature of governments, man. Oh, Blackadder, man, Blackadder's so good. The rolling bombardment is a wonderful idea. The problem with that, I forget which battle it was. The Germans dug deep bunkers and they just ran into the bunkers when the artillery started and took their machine guns with them. And as soon as the artillery stopped, they ran out and set the machine guns up and like mowed down, like, you know, thousands of Allied soldiers halfway across no man's land. And, you know, it's like, wow. the Finno-Korean hyper war. Well, in this game, they're trying to say the Finnish are at war with ice demons. And I had to remind them that in 1914, Finland was actually part of the Russian Empire. It was the Archduchy of Finland. And it was part of Imperial Russia, as was the Baltic states, too. They were all part of Imperial Russia, as was Ukraine, even though in their lore, they're trying to say the Polish-Ukrainian Commonwealth exists. It's like, no, that ceased to exist way, way before Imperial Russia. So get the F out of here or something, you know? But then again, that's what I'm saying. A lot of the decisions they're making, you can tell that they're based on some kind of weird
Political agenda.
political bullshit, and I just don't want it to be. I want it to be believable, even though there are demons roaming around trenches and undead and all that. And I want them to stop, trying to be exclusionary of certain groups just because they're Europeans and they don't like those groups. It's like in Euro trash, you know what I mean? Basically, I'm sorry for the language, guys, but that's basically it. All of Europe knows that they're jealous because none of them would have a hope in hell of stopping the United States from doing literally anything we ever wanted to do. And so they do spiteful shit in role playing or in board games. And it's like, just stop, guys. Like I had to say to all the Canadians who think America's plotting to invade you, we're not. We were really not, I promise. We don't care enough about Canada to invade Canada. And also, it would be more of a problem than it would be a good thing. I mean, why would we want to invade a country that would immediately put us into more debt, paying for all their stupid shit? Now, I know there's some people who are very proud of being Canadian and they want to say that Canada would have a chance. They wouldn't. But I'll give people their due. It's good to be proud of your nation. And I think everyone should be. But yeah, the cold weather doesn't bother anyone. We have military bases in Alaska. And there's no region of Canada that's any colder than that. So, yeah, 16th, 17th century. Yeah, Sweden. Yeah.
Can't we just invade Canada just a little bit?
No, we don't want Canada. We really don't.
I'm
One,
not saying
there
that
are
we
bros.
want to keep them. We just
There
invade
are
them a little bit.
brothers, so we don't want to invade them because there are bros. But two, man, like 9/10 of the population of the Maritime are on welfare and shit, right?
I know that was just what George said. He's just like, can't we just invade them a little bit?
I know. Plus, Quebec, the Quebecois are just freaking. Can you imagine if the Quebecois become part of the United States and then start demanding that everything be in French too?
Oh God, no.
I mean, the fact that the Anglo-Canadians put up with that shit, I don't even know why. But I don't want any part of that. And then you would have the First Nations people all freaking with all their bullshit. And it's like, yeah, we don't need it. We don't need it. Stay on up there. People like to say shit like, stay up there and drink your maple syrup. But we all know the best maple syrup comes from Vermont anyway. So, whatever. Whatever. I mean, again, not trying to be mean. I know a lot of Canadians and I like them a lot. I think they're great people. My mother-in-law is Canadian. But nah, we don't want any part of that shit. Look how effed up their country is. Why would we want any part of that? You know? No. No, thank you. I mean, and all their stupid laws and well, maybe we could save them actually from their stupid laws. If we took over, we could tell them, "Hey, you're not allowed to throw people in jail for being insulting to each other on the internet."
I'd be more afraid that we'd accept their stupid laws.
That's the issue. That's where I'm living at. It's like, no, it would be our luck if we invaded Canada and took them over. Then instead of fixing their bullshit, we would adopt it.
Kentucky already has that issue of adopting stupid nonsense they should never accept.
And we don't want any part of that shit. That's why we never invaded Mexico. Well, okay.
We did
We
invade
conquered
Mexico. We gave it
3
back.
times. That's why we never kept it, is what I
Yes.
should say. Because we did the math and we're like, do we really want all these Mexicans having opinions about how the United States functions? No.
Not to mention that they don't like us, so why even bother trying to keep them?
They'd like us after a few generations.
Fair, but still.
I mean, after we made our Nimitz by Sam Mustafa, check it out, I will. I mean, after a few generations, they would be like, okay, whatever. We're Americans now. They already are Americans. I mean, North America is a thing, and they are part of it. But
I'm just saying, it's a thing of, in the short term, our government didn't even want to deal with like uprisings or unrest. They're just like, it's not worth it. Let's just take a part of their country and call it a day.
well, one time I think we invaded them because of some bandit that was raiding across the border a lot. And it finally pissed us off enough to go in there and
That's also true.
Pancho Villa or some shit.
I was talking about the point where we were fighting for Texas.
Well, we never fought for Texas. Texas fought for itself.
Yeah, true. Kind of.
And then after Texas was an independent country for a while, it decided it would be better off as part of the Union. So it become part of the Union.
Did we have to fight them after that then? Because I think it was.
Dude, we have invaded Mexico, like I said, 3 times.
Because I mean, maybe I'm thinking of
not long before World War I. We invaded Mexico, like a couple decades.
I think maybe they attacked us because of Texas or something like that, and then we took California from them. Something like that, maybe. I'm not sure.
I think we went to war with Mexico one time before the Civil War, but not having to do with Texas.
Okay.
And that's because Robert E. Lee, who at the time was not a general, he was like a colonel or lieutenant colonel in charge of the cavalry, is the guy who led the actual winning cavalry charge through the streets of Mexico City that put an end to it. But then we left because we were like, whatever. And then at one point in the early, like 1901 or some shit, we invaded the shit out of them and put a beating on them. But then we left because it's like
we don't want this.
Literally didn't want any part of it. And
we did not want this. This is just stupid. Let's go.
We invaded Canada one time and actually conquered one of their cities.
Yeah.
And then we stood around for a while and said, yeah, F this, and we left.
I like the time that we
whatever.
Almost went to war with Britain again over a part of Canada.
Over a pig.
Yeah, over a pig.
Over a pig. That was in British Columbia. Because was an American guy killed a British guy's pig?
Yeah.
And it's
no.
The
British guy had the pig. It was the American who had the potatoes, and the pig would get into the potatoes.
The pig ate the potatoes, so the American guy shot the pig, so the British guy, and the next thing you know, you had fleets off the freaking island and armies all over the place. And
then an admiral came here over there was like, you know what, this might advance my career. I'm gonna send, what was his name? I can't remember his name. Was it Custard?
This was shortly before the Civil War.
Yeah, I know. They got like, I think it was like, I cannot remember his name, but he wasn't a very smart guy. put them on the island right in front of the ships, just going like, if you get fired on, we can declare war.
Yeah.
Turns
And
out
then
that
that's when they drew that weird line separating the island. But the problem is there's like a river
actually it was the
that
middle of a
splits
river, but
part of it, and it gets
yeah.
all like, it's weird, but hey,
Then there was
that's
like a
okay,
joint. There was like a joint occupation of it in which the Brits and the Americans just kind of came together. It was like, you know what? Let's just have fun and celebrate each other's holidays. Like you'd
Well,
have
I
Brits
mean, they're the
celebrating
same
like
people
yeah,
ultimately.
Brits celebrating 4th of July and the Americans celebrating like I think it was like the Queen's birthday or something.
Well, I mean, I think anyone with a heart kind of like Queen Elizabeth.
Hey, yeah. I'm not saying it's bad. I just found it funny
She
because
wasn't a bad queen,
you'd have
honestly.
like actual British soldiers celebrating 4th of July.
Well, I mean, you got to
Yeah,
remember that George Washington was an actual British soldier
true. It's just kind of funny because it's just like,
before he
they fought on
decided
the
to,
other side before
right?
this.
It's like people don't seem to think about, but hey, Robert E. Lee, yeah, he was hardcore Union loyalist back before the Civil War. They actually asked him to lead the Union Army, but when he found out they'd be invading Virginia, he
He's like,
declined
nah, I can't.
because he's like, nah, I'm related to everybody there.
I
I'm not
can't.
doing this.
I wouldn't do it either. I'd probably just feel like I don't want to.
And then, of course, the Union went through a whole line of really bad generals.
Oh God, yeah, like McClellan.
McClellan, Burnside. It was like just the biggest wastes of life for their generals until, love him or hate him, they got frickin' blood and guts Grant.
Yeah, Grant. Which I mean, Grant doesn't seem like that bad.
Well, the thing with Grant was he was willing to sacrifice men if it would allow him to achieve the strategic
That's fair, I
goal.
guess.
And he also knew that the Union had a lot more men. And see, McClellan, his deal was he never wanted to attack the Confederacy because he knew he was going to lose a bunch of men. But Lincoln was always like, look, you're going to have to do this shit. And then McClellan would be like, well, I need more men. In one letter, Lincoln wrote that he felt that if he sent McClellan 1,000,000 men, he would ask for another 1,000,000.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, McClellan did seem a bit passive.
Right. And he just didn't have the whatever it takes to send men to die to achieve objectives. Grant proved at the Battle of Paducah, Kentucky, that he had no problem sending men to die. And it was after the Battle of Paducah that Lincoln was like, you're my boy. You're my boy, Blue. And like literally blue, huh? And the thing with Grant is, like I said, was he a better general than Lee? No. But he had more men, more resources, more supply, better logistics, and he could afford to throw it all at the kitchen table, throw it all at the wall and see what stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's basically it. Lee was the better general, but even Lee wasn't the best general on the Confederate side. The best general on the Confederate side was Longstreet, who was one of Lee's immediate subordinates. And it was Longstreet that told Lee during the first day of Gettysburg to attack. And Lee wouldn't do it because he was waiting for Stuart to give him, info. But Longstreet was like, don't give them time to get reinforcements, attack now. And even though it's armchair generaling, um, based on the disposition of both armies at the time, had the Confederates just went balls to the wall day one, they would have crushed the Union. They outnumbered them like 3-1. But because Lee insisted on waiting in the middle of the night, the Union forces
We're able to reinforce.
they reinforced, and then it flipped, and now the Union had more men there. So yeah, but Longstreet they called the war horse because he never came up with any fancy plan. His plans were always very
Simple,
like
brute.
simple, down to earth, shit that would work and didn't require a lot of, stuff. That was Longstreet's deal. He was your standard solid infantry general. And he
Sometimes
understood
what needed.
how to fight wars.
It's pretty much usually what's needed, though, isn't it?
Well, that's why Lee kept him around for so long. But meanwhile, Stewart, I think it was busy at a railhead stealing a bunch of equipment from the Union train station. And while he was doing that, that meant he wasn't using his scouts to scout out the Union lines. And that almost got him fired. Lee literally dressed Stewart down and threatened to fire his ass. Has anyone ever made a Planet of the Apes war game? Not to my knowledge, but it would be really easy to do. Because there are miniature companies that sell Neanderthal type primitive humans. And I'm sure if you go on Cults 3D or My Mini Factory or Yegi or something, you can find some Planet of the Apes with their infield looking rifles. I would bet just about anything.
Ooh, talking about that, James, do you know why the Galil was named Galil? It had something to do with, and it had to do something with its creator. Guess what the name of its creator was?
Galil?
Nope.
What?
Balashnikov.
Oh, yeah, you tricked me because you're right. The Galil is just the Israeli version of an AK.
I know, but that
is 5.56 instead of 7.62.
But it's hilarious. I would have actually suggested
me because do you know what the name of the guy who designed the Uzi was?
Balashnikov?
Uzi.
I just found it funny. I'm like, if I was in the people talking about naming this thing, I'd be like, I'd have to heavily insist to name it after Balashnikov. That'd be hilarious.
Well, and then it gets the plot thickens because I think Brazilian military was testing an assault rifle called the ACE something. And it was just a Brazilian version of the Galil, which means it was just the Brazilian version of an AK.
Yeah.
In 5.56. So it's like, okay. Why do I know that? Because in Battlefield 3, that was my primary firearm, the ACE. And why? Because that thing, the bullet trajectory on it was like a laser beam. Within decent range, you didn't have to worry about bullet drop or any of that shit. You put the reactive sight on somebody and give it a 3-round squeeze, and they died. That thing was awesome. But yeah, a Planet of the Apes war game, miniature game would be super easy, And if you wanted to go with the humans are better equipped, maybe the humans have near ape technology. Yeah, no doubt you could do that. A 3D printer and your choice of your favorite skirmish type game or not. A lot of people forget that for a long time before Games Workshop turned into a mob of freaking bad teeth idiots, or idiots with bad teeth is how I should have said it. They used to put out like historic rule sets, World War II, ancients. Like, you could play all these different historical war games with rule sets that Games Workshop had made. So, like I have the ancients and I have the Byzantine source book, which gives you all the rules for not only Eastern Rome, but pretty much everyone they ever fought against, which is cool. So if you want to build a Mongol army or an Ottoman army or Penichegs or whatever, but you like the old school Warhammer Fantasy rule set, it existed. And yeah, I don't know why they stopped. Games Workshop just stopped making. It's like all of their best games, they just stopped making. Like I'll go on record here as saying one of the best Games Workshop games ever made was Man of War. And it's like that game has been out of print since the 90s, at least, I think. 90s, maybe early 2000s. And then one of their other best games of all time was is Battlefleet Gothic, which I have everything for that, thank goodness. But that's not the point. The point is, they had these games that were absolutely amazing, and for whatever reason, they just decided they weren't going to make them anymore. For a little while, you used to be able to get some of the stuff from those games in their specialist miniatures, whatever. But they even stopped that. So now, if you want Battlefleet Gothic or Man of War miniatures, you have two choices. One is to buy them for like $100 for a fleet of 3, and you'll need way more than that. And the other one is to just 3D print them, because there are a lot of creators out there who have created dead-on replicas of the Battlefleet Gothic and Man of War figures. And most of the time, because they're Games Workshop figures, they're free. Because if they give them away for free, I guess they can't get in trouble for it. So, yeah. So, I have currently in my possession STLs for every ship from Man of War. And the last time Hunger was down, we played a big battle. It was Bretonnians versus Dwarves. And he got his ass whipped because my Bretonnians, honestly, it's not super fair. The Bretonnians, the broadsides are just out of control. You know what I mean? Like all the Bretonnian ships have just shit tons of. So if you're playing against somebody who knows what they're doing, like me, and you F around and their galleons and stuff start getting broadsides on you, it doesn't matter who you are. You will melt quick.
So you were using British war tactics.
Yeah. Running all my Corsairs and shit in line, using bucket. What I would do is I'd use Corsairs in line to lob shots to screw up. Hey, what's up, Off Grid? To screw up the enemy, and then I used the squadrons of Buccaneers, which are the smallest ship, to try to actually board the enemy ship. Because the Buccaneer as a ship is absolute trash. It doesn't even have a cannon on it. It's got catapults. It's garbage. But it does have its crew, and after you shoot the hell out of, my hands are busy building Cadians. Well, I have a shit ton of Cadians. They're still on the sprue.
You know what, James? My
Yeah.
favorite Yankee tactic to use against the British wouldn't work in your war game.
Mm-mm. Well, the dwarves are cruising around in monitors and submarines and ironclads and war balloons with guns on them and shit like that. But my Bretonians, I've got paladins mounted on Pegasus. So if you want to get into an air battle, it's your dwarf war balloon versus my Pegasus mounted knights. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of cool, right? And then, of course, my second favorite army, which I didn't play, is my Dark Elves. And the thing with the Dark Elves is the majority of their fleet is very, very mid, but the capital ship of the fleet, the Black Ark, is monstrous. It is absolutely, and the miniature of it is like this big. So you've got normal ships there, like an inch long, and you've got this 5 inch long beast with like 50 guns around it and wizards casting spells out of it. And it's being drug along by like sea dragons. And yeah, it's been a close to 2 hours. So I'm going to start wrapping this up.
Yeah, fair.
Grab something to eat or something, continue basing these Imperial Japanese ships for no reason at all. It's like I always complain about, I have way too many war games.
And then you
And then
get me
I
one.
see something like that, and I'm like, well, I'll 3D print these things up, though.
It's like, I gotta get rid of some stuff. Hey, look what I just got.
Yeah, but you know what the good thing is about these guys? They're so small. I
Fair.
could put them in like a little art box, like all of them, and be like, yeah, that's it, you know?
I still have that Switcher Sweets box. I could put them all in that.
Right. So it's like, whatever, you know? So all I need to do is find a decent rule set and
Start wargaming out like scenarios of World War II for funsies.
yeah. I mean, I could just use the harpoon rule set with the I think it uses Jane's Guide to Warships or some shit.
You know, James, talking about World War II warships, there is an anime about World War II ships.
Is there?
Yes, but it's not what you think, because what it is basically the
Are you talking about the
Japanese.
one where they made the Yamato a spaceship?
No,
Okay.
this one's actually weirder in the sense that they turn the ships into girls.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, and then they reenacted every battle from the Japanese side. Oh, and made it exactly accurate to what ship got destroyed in it. All the ship girls also got destroyed in it, and then except at the Battle of Midway where Japan wins somehow.
You know, Japanese are just a strange group of people.
Yes, I did not think that there'd be an anime like that. That'd be like us making a cartoon about the Civil War, which the South won the Battle of Gettysburg, and it was all girls instead of the actual people.
You know, World of Warships did a thing where like you could have like anime captains,
Mm-hmm.
like anime girl captains on your warships.
Different anime though. That was shoot. I know it because I've watched it. It was a weird one.
Yeah, of course you know. I mean, I don't know why I even bring it up.
I knew it because I actually played it and I found this anime out because of World of Warships.
Right. I mean, I don't even know what I'm thinking over here. It's like,
The main character even had like the Harikaze, which isn't a real ship exactly.
but
I think it was based off a real one, but isn't.
yeah. Like the Japanese aircraft carrier I have, there were 3 of them total.
Okay, then that was not the Shokaku because there was only one of that.
Yeah, no, this one is some other ship that was like a World War I warship that got converted into Canadian infantry. Canadians.
Uh,
Well, I mean,
Maybe it was a Ho show, but I don't think so.
no, I actually, if I were at my other computer, I could look, but I'm not at my other computer, so I can't look.
That one was a 1922 design. Phoenix flying. I don't think it was Zuikaku.
No, I mean it got sunk. I know that the ship I'm talking about, I think, got sunk at Midway. And but like I also have the Cleveland class escort cruiser, right? And I printed two of them out because apparently we built a bunch of these things. There were a few of them.
Okay, so there was the Akagi, the Kaga, Hiryu, and Soryu at the Battle of Midway.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I'm I'd have to look at my STL collection, which, like I said, is on my other computer, and see which
Hey, they discovered Akagi and Kaga in 2019.
did they.
Yep. Oh,
I
and the Soryu and
mean,
Hiryu were also found in the vicinity of the battle site.
you can get the what's it called, the Yamamoto in this thing,
Yamato.
but you have to buy it as an individual model. It doesn't come as part of a fleet, which is where you get your big discount.
Yeah.
And also, it never actually ever fought anything anyway.
Well, it did, but that's when it got sunk.
So it's like, meh.
Well, it didn't fight ships though, so that's fair. It got sunk by aircraft.
Yeah. So the wrong ship for the wrong war.
It was the right ship for the wrong war.
Right, right. I guess if they were still fighting World War I, that thing would have been a beast.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, um, the Japanese didn't realize until a little late that it was all going to be carriers.
Yeah, Isoroku Yamamoto kind of was a more carrier-focused guy. He really wanted them to focus on that.
Yeah.
That or sub-technology too, I think.
Whereas we had a guy in our army and they were saying there would never be a use for battleships anymore. And this dude, who was born in Kentucky, was like, "You guys are freaking wrong." And they kept trying to kick him out of the Navy because they kept saying that he had bad eyesight.
Oh, you're talking about the guy who modernized basically all our like
How
range
you
ship
actually
combat.
aim battleship artillery and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, they kept trying to kick him out. And then when they couldn't kick him out, they put him in charge of training. And then eventually they gave him a ship, and he destroyed a Japanese ship in under 15 minutes without taking a single hit back, hardly.
Because he was just that
Because
good of a sharpshooter. I mean, he was a good shot.
he had trained his crew how to basically use the main guns of a battleship like a sniper rifle.
Yep. He was a good sniper. If the army took him, he would have been like a very good sniper.
Yeah,
Instead,
that was his thing, is that they kept saying he was a bad shot, but then he kept winning marksmanship competitions and shit.
no, it's not that they thought he was a bad shot. They were just like, he's blind. He can't be in the military.
Yeah, he's
It's like,
blind. He can't be in the military. And it's like, and then he comes in first place at like all these marksmanship competitions.
yeah.
So they're like, but apparently, as a child in school in Kentucky, he was a straight up menace.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that didn't change when he was in the Navy.
No.
So he didn't make a lot of friends with the higher up either. They weren't huge fans of
Like
him.
when he was a kid, he was doing dip in school, and the teacher would throw the dip in the furnace, and that's how he kind of got. I think that's how he got blind, because the teacher he like put like gunpowder in one of the cans. And the
Yeah,
teacher
and the
took
teacher
it
threw it
to
in
it
the
there.
furnace and it exploded.
Yeah.
And they got mad at him, and he said, "It's not my fault. I didn't take my stuff and throw it in there." Yeah, that guy was just—he was just that guy, you know.
Yes.
But he trained his crew on how to use those main guns, and he was a menace.
How he got in the Navy was funny too, because he basically failed the eyes exam. He's like, "Come on, dude, just let me in. I'm just gonna go into another branch and just cheat the eye exam like everybody else."
Right, and the guy was like, "Fine."
Because that was kind of a running theme for some of our biggest badasses, was that they had poor eyesight and they just cheat the exam just to get in.
Yeah. Well, another guy from our neck of the woods, though, he didn't have bad eyesight, but in World
No,
War One, Sergeant York,
no, he's from Tennessee.
right, our neck of the woods.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
He's
Yeah.
from Tennessee, but he was so close to Kentucky that he would often ride into Kentucky to drink,
Oh, fair.
because the place he lived yeah, a guy from a completely landlocked state revolutionized the battleship because he was such a good shot with handguns, rifles, everything. And he decided that he was just going to do the same thing he did with a rifle, except with a 16-inch gun.
Yeah, he would use a lot of things that you would use for shooting a rifle and just transfer it over to
And
using the
transfer it
main
over
gun.
to yeah, the big guns. And then
Like how the Earth is
somehow or
curved, you have
another
to
that
actually
shit worked.
compensate for that. Funnily enough.
Right. And then Sergeant York, who was a drunkard from Tennessee until he got hit by lightning. Uh, he was such a good shot, and also a hellion. He never would go to church with his poor old mom.
Huh.
That he one time carved his initials, Alvin York, AY, into a tree while he was at a ride on a horse with 2 revolvers.
I always heard that he was like a pacifist, Alvin York.
Okay, here's what happened. Alvin York decided he was going to go ahead and kill this guy because this guy had ripped him off somehow, right? So he mounted the horse and had his rifle slung on his shoulder to go kill the guy, right? And on his way, he got hit by lightning.
I think that was God's,
It hit
God
the
telling
rifle.
him no.
Yeah, it hit and melted that rifle to slag, and he lived. And from that point on, he becomes super religious and a pacifist. But he still got drafted into the Army Infantry in World War I. And they let him carry medical bags and whatever. But then there was a battle where the Germans had his unit pinned down and was basically wiping them out. And Alvin York was like, no. And he grabbed a handy rifle that just happened to be laying around, and he started murdering Germans to the point that the whole damn German unit surrendered to him.
Yeah, that is hilariously crazy.
Because every time one of them would pop their head up above the trench line, York would go ahead and just shoot it off. And it got to where the Germans could not even lift their heads to look out of the trench line. And then the other nasty trick he did is he would gobble at them like a turkey. And since the German soldiers had never heard a turkey, when they would hear the turkey sound, of course they would look. They'd be like, what the fuck is that? And they'd look over the trench, boom, Springfield right to the head.
Never piss off a country boy. I mean, God.
But then after the war, he went home and never
did anything bad
did
again.
any of that crazy shit ever again. He was done.
Yep.
But during the war, and like I said, he only did the crazy shit because his buddies were getting killed. They're getting mowed down by a German machine gun unit. And he was like, nah, we're not doing this. And stepped up. And then, of course, in World War II, our hero is Aldi Murphy.
Yeah, the short man from Texas.
The short man from Texas, who single-handedly saved a bunch of officers, attacked a whole German panzer unit,
Yeah, he jumped on a flaming.
jumped on the tank while it was on fire so that
Yeah.
he could use the hatch-mounted machine gun to mow down enemy infantry.
Yes.
And he lied to get into the army.
Yep.
Because one, he was like 5'1", and the other thing is he was very short. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, he was
He
very
was
short.
16.
Yeah, he was also too young too.
So he lied and told him he was 18, and they put him in, and he was a communications guy. That's why he was assigned to the officers. He was a commo guy. But then when that German panzer unit attacked, everybody started getting shot, and Audie Murphy lost his freaking cool and decided it'd be a good idea to just go freaking berserk.
Man of can do.
Yep. And then later he played himself in his own movie, and he also played in a couple of westerns.
Didn't didn't they have to tone down his part because of how absurd
They
it would
toned
be?
his part down because they were worried that if they showed
Nobody
what
would
he actually
believe it.
did, no one would believe it.
This
But
is
he
like
did win a
superhero shit.
Congressional Medal of Honor. And what's up, Jose? You showed up just as we're getting ready to close up shop.
Yeah.
But yeah, he won a Congressional Medal of Honor and
A well-deserved one.
every other medal you could win, like the French Cross de Triomphe or something. Like if it was a medal you could win for being a pure badass, this little dude won them all.
You know, there was actually a spy that actually won a medal. I think like a medal from each country.
I believe it. Do you know that there's an SS soldier buried at Arlington Cemetery?
Yeah.
Larry Thorne.
Yeah, there was like a Spanish guy who basically became like a double agent for the Germans and the Brits. He was basically trolling the Germans at first, and then the Brits finally came in and just like, you know what, we'll make you a spy, yes.
He was just lying to everybody.
Yeah,
And
no, he
everyone
wasn't.
believed him.
No, here's the thing. He tried to become a British informant at first. They turned him down. He had to go and become basically a double agent in the Germans, giving up fake information, lying to them expertly until he finally was acknowledged. So they took him into Britain, gave him like all that he needed, and
He's
then
such a good liar. Everybody was like, we love this guy.
he got the Germans to send him what was it, the Enigma machine?
The Iron Cross. Oh, the Enigma machine. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he did actually get an Iron Cross too, although technically posthumously, because they lied and said that he got killed.
Right.
So they sent him the medal in and gave it to his widow and some money,
Even though yeah,
even though he's one still alive and two,
was never working for them anyway.
yes. And to be fair, they never rescinded it, so he still had that medal.
Yeah, Larry Thorne was just a Finnish guy that really hated communists. So he fought for Finland against the communists. Then, when Finland surrendered, he fought for the SS Viking, I think, regiment against the communists. And then he went to jail for a while, but then he went and he managed to get out, and he went to America, where like at the age of 40 something, he became a Green Beret.
Yep.
And eventually died somewhere, they think in Laos or Cambodia, fighting the VC. I will go berserk to sleep soon. Yeah, same. Anyway, though, peace and love, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for
I'll
hanging out.
see ya.
Lorny Torney. Yep, that guy is a monstrous, interesting story. But yeah, we'll catch you later. Maybe even tomorrow. Hungar's going to be on tomorrow, actually. So he was my great-great-grandfather, 13-year-old's father. Both survived the Somme. Damn. Jeez. Yeah, a lot of people were doing that shit. Like lying and saying they were 18 when they were like 14. Just goes to show you, like Robert E. Lee said to General Longstreet, the day before the Battle of Gettysburg, it's a good thing that war is so terrible, or we would love it way too much.
Yeah.
That is a quote from Robert E. Lee. But anyway,
Hey, yeah.
yeah. Peace and love. See you, left. Thanks for hanging. And I will catch you guys later. Go eat